Now this meeting's being recorded. It's not a meeting. This is a podcast. This is the WODcast podcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am here doing this via remote. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, back visiting family for the holidays, doing shows at the Pittsburgh Improv and Hilarities in Cleveland. And I'm here doing the podcast because I never forget about you guys. That's right. Very important podcast day. We've had this scheduled for a while. I was looking very forward to it. I got all caught up in my travel schedule and just had the shit kicked out of me. Almost didn't make it back here and almost didn't do the show. And I made it happen because I know we got to have a show every week for you guys. If you're into strength and conditioning, health, fitness, nutrition, all the things that I'm not participating in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, my life has fallen apart, people. I don't know if that happens to you in the holidays, but it happens to me. It happens to me. I try to be pretty good about it when I'm gone for the holidays. I say, hey, let's keep up on everything. Well, because they say the average person gains 10 pounds over the holidays. I've definitely done it. And I am no expert to talk to you right now because I feel shitty about myself right now. And anyway, I'm still doing the show. I'm going to put a plan together and have come back from the new year and just be ready to go, And I know a lot of people do that, but I do, and I get into it, and I might get into it for 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, but I do. So this episode, this is a very interesting kind of holiday. We just shoot the shit, man. Sal DiStefano from Mind Pump Radio. If you listen to this podcast, you're into podcasting and CrossFit and exercise, nutrition, all that stuff, then you probably listen to Mind Pump. It's one of the most popular podcasts on the internet, especially when it comes to fitness. It might be the top podcast. These guys have run an incredible business. They've turned their podcast into, just a giant machine, and I could learn from them. They've done a really good job. I listen to them sometimes. I take a lot of their advice when it comes to training. They're all experts in their field. And it was great to talk to Sal. I've always wanted to kind of meet them. And it was fun having them on the show. If you're a fan of the show, you appreciate what we're doing, hey, it's the holidays. Very good time to participate. Be part of the show. Be a member of the show. There are so many people out there that have given to this show and been part of our Patreon. I'm asking you. It's very easy. $5 a month. $5. 5 measly dollars. That's like $1.25 an episode. And you get these episodes. But beyond that, you're going to get yourself a chance to win. And when I say win, you're going to win. Everybody wins eventually. I hope everybody does. I'm not promising that, but almost everybody. Anyways, if you give $5, you get in a drawing for a Myopux and a leopard claw. Now, if you listen to the show and you don't know what a Myopux or a leopard claw is, and you're out of your mind, you haven't paid attention. Myopux is an electronic muscle stimulator. A leopard paw is I got one in my bag right now. I travel with it. I travel with both of them. I was in the car today and I hooked up myself to the Myopux because I was having a little pain in my back, and I was just like, hey. And then my wife said, hey, I got a pain in my hamstring. And I said, oh, you know what? Let's get some blood flowing in there. Let's try to expedite. That's the word, expedite this injury. So really, really good for rehab. Check them out. Go to myopux.com. leopardclaw.com, I believe, and look at the leopard paw. Troy over there at Leopard Claw and Myopux takes care of you. It's like $450 worth of rehab equipment, and you should have this. You got to have this in your arsenal. $450 worth. You get it for just giving $5 a month. How are you not all doing this? I don't know. And even if you can't do it, just review the show. Just go give us a review on iTunes. That's all I ask. It's a little bit, it's your Christmas spirit. Give a little. Anyways, Kyle or Aaron Jepson, I just want to know that I told you won, sent your stuff over to them, and I hope you get your stuff. And I want to congratulate this week. This week, our new winner is Leslie Tannehill. Leslie Tannehill, congratulations. Send us an email. That's all you got to do. Send us an email at WODcastpodcast@yahoo.com, and we will send that over to you. You are getting your winner chicken dinner. Yeah. So send us an email, WODcastpodcast@yahoo.com. You can always send us questions, ideas for hosts. If you want to solicit us to do ads for our, advertise on our show, if you want to be a possible host of the show, that is the place to go. WODcastpodcast@yahoo.com, or you can always find me at Eddie Ifft on Instagram. You can see my show schedules there. EddieIfft.com has my show schedules. I am a touring stand-up comedian. I tour all over the country. CrossFitters are notorious for not being good stand-up comedy fans. I just had a bunch in my show in Bozeman. They didn't stop and say hi. I blame myself. They said that I went to the green room and didn't come out. COVID, I usually don't. I wasn't working out while I was there because I was in and out so quickly. But I like to go to the gyms and work out with, as soon as January starts, I'm doing CrossFit more. I did a Wendler cycle for a while. I was doing running, getting my running up to speed. And now I'm going to see how I fare at CrossFit just starting out again. So I'm going to ease into it. And for the next 3 months, I'm going to do CrossFit 5 days a week. So I'll probably be down there at Malibu CrossFit a lot, which Mike Anderson, great coach down there, one of the best. And I will, we'll see how it went. I got some ski trips planned, and I want to see how my fitness is. Speaking of stand-up comedy, I have a whole bunch of dates coming up. If this airs on the 22nd, I will be in Cleveland at Hilarities. You got nothing to do tonight? Come out and check out the show. 23rd of December, I'll be at the Pittsburgh Improv. 26th of December, Pittsburgh Improv. 29th of December, the Laughing Skull in Atlanta, Georgia. 31st, 1st and 2nd, I will be at House of Comedy in Scottsdale, Arizona. Then January, is that the 7th and January 3rd and 4th? No. Yeah, where am I the 3rd and 4th? That's a weird one. I don't even know where I am. I know I'm somewhere. I don't have my dates in front of me. Oh, no, January 7th, 8th. I'm sorry, January 7th, 8th. I will be in Boston, Massachusetts at Laugh Boston. January 14th, 15th, I'll be in Sun Valley, Idaho, Ketchum, Idaho, Sun Valley Resort. And then, again, all these dates are at eddieift.com. And then the 22nd, I will be performing at the Irvine Improv, shooting my new special. So I want everybody out for that. I said I will give you free tickets if you're a CrossFitter. You just need to send me a message at WODcastpodcast@yahoo.com, and I will hook you up with free tickets for that show. The 28th, 29th, I'll be in Calgary. And then the 4th and 5th of February, I'll be in Vancouver. So check out all my dates, eddieift.com. There's all kinds of dates coming up. I'll be in Vail, Colorado, Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I have Las Vegas coming up, all kinds of dates. I tour a lot, more than any comedian I know. I am on the road like ridiculously. But anyways, let's just get to the show. Sal DiStefano, trainer, fitness expert, author, podcast guru, and all-around great guy, great conversation. I knew it would happen because the guy knows how to talk on his show, and I knew we could talk it out and have a good time. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hope you enjoy the holidays. Hope you are happy, safe, healthy, and mentally clear. And I want the best for you guys all. I love your support. I'm glad you can listen to the show. I hope I can be some help to you. And also, if you any last minute stuff for Christmas gifts, check out one of the great. I think I sold 3 of these tonight. I was telling my brother and my 2 brother-in-laws all about 8 Sleep, and I think I sold them on it because it is just the best bed in the world. Check out 8 Sleep if you're looking for a good night's sleep. We're giving a really good discount on at 8sleep.com/WODcast. Check them out. And also CBDMD. My wife is their biggest proponent now. She loves it. It's like she's dedicating her life to it. If you're needing to relax, you're needing to recover after a hard workout, they got all kinds of products. Check them out at cbdmd.com. If you're looking into venturing into the CBD world, which we all should, this is the place to go. They're my CBD. That's what I like to call them, cbdmd.com. And I think now that's it, and we should just get this show rolling. So everything you say can be used against you in a court of law.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that.
You ever been arrested?
No, I haven't. I'm just kidding.
Luckily. I have. It's kind of fun.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't get like anything serious. It was like a drunken kid, but it was kind of funny. I'm glad. You know what? To be honest, I'm glad I had the experience. Luckily it was a felony at first, and then they knocked it down once we apologized, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah, good for you. I was lucky enough to not get caught, so I'm not saying that I never broke the law. I just didn't get caught. So
yeah, I thought the same. I got caught. This was only a few years ago.
Oh crap! Hold on, you said drunken kid.
Yeah. I'm still a kid.
Okay.
I'm an idiot. I look at myself like every time. Yeah, I look at people that are older than me, like they always want to they're mad at me, and people that are younger than me, I'm like, oh yeah, they can relate. Like I still do college shows every once in a while. I'm like, yeah, we're the same, right? Yeah. Like I'm old enough to be your dad, but we're exactly the same.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, or you could be like me. I've been 20 years older than my age since I was a kid. So
yeah, well, see, I used to be 5 years younger than every girl I was hitting on, or 5 years older.
Oh yeah,
that was my thing. I'd be like, "How old are you?" She's like, "I'm 25." I'm like, "I'm 30."
Yeah, perfect.
I'm 35. I'm 40.
Yeah, no. When I used to manage gym back in the day when I first got into fitness space, and I was managing these big box gyms, I was 19 years old. And I wouldn't tell my age to my staff because they were all, in their mid 20s or 30s. So I just didn't say anything. And then I would get caught when they try to go out. Hey, let's go to the bar. I think I'm going to go home, guys. I don't have the ID to get in there.
I got to go home and, I sleep early. I get up, I train again. I'm fully focused on fitness.
Yeah, the reality was I got to get home because my mom's going to get mad if I don't get home.
My first fake ID was when I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were sneaking into bars. I'll never forget I crashed the first night. That I crashed my car the first night I was in a bar.
Holy cow. That's terrible. That's like getting pregnant the first time you have sex.
Yeah. It was it's we all used to drive. I grew up in Pittsburgh where I am right now. And I drove to Cleveland, where I'm driving tomorrow. I've got a show in Cleveland at Hilarities. And we drove up to Cleveland. There was this place in the mall that would give you driver identification cards. They weren't driver's licenses. They were driver identification cards. And you would just get them printed. They'd take your picture. They would laminate them. And this is before computers and everything. And all they had was a book. Sometimes the bouncers would have a book. And we got in everywhere with those things.
Oh, that's super rad. Yeah, no, there was this one bar that I would get into. So
where'd you grow up?
So I'm in San Jose, California.
Okay.
And one of the first gyms that I managed was in Sunnyvale. So it was this like big flagship club of 24-hour fitness back in the day. This is a 90, I want to say maybe 98. And there was a bar next door, kind of a dive bar. And my district manager he knew my age. He didn't care. He was young too for his position or whatever. And he would take me over there and the bartender would I looked old, right? I'd wear professional clothes and all that stuff. And I'd walk in and they're serving me drinks. Well, anyway, a couple of years later, I turned 21. By this point, I'm doing something else. I came down to visit my buddy and he goes, let's go back to to the old, bar we used to. So I'd go in there. I went in there for my 21st birthday, and the bartender's like, "Oh my God, Sal, what's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm celebrating my birthday." And he's like, "How old are you?" I'm like, 21. Like, son of a bitch, you used to come here all the time. Like, hey, you never carded me, man. It wasn't my fault.
My 21st birthday was in Vail, Colorado with a bunch of buddies. I grew up skiing. And we're in the bar like at 8 o'clock. I'm turning 21 at midnight. And we're in the bar at 8 o'clock. And the guy cards us all. And we're going, "It's my birthday. I'm turning 21, blah, blah, blah." And the bartender goes, "Let me see your ID." I hand it to him. He goes, "You're not 21 yet. Get out of here."
Oh.
And I'm like, "Really?" It was like, I don't know, 10 p.m. or something. And I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, get out of here." And it was a very rude removal, let's just say. Like got thrown in a snowbank or something, I remember. But so I remember being really drunk that night at like the end of the night. And they were like, "Where do you want to go now?" And, it was at the point where I was like, wherever there's a toilet that I can throw up in. And so I was like, "Let's go back to the Red Lion." And that's where the guy threw me out. So we go
I'm back.
Yeah. So we went back and I'm like, "I'm 21 now." And there was always this like drink that we always knew could put us over the top. And sure enough, I did it. And right there on the bar, just puked everywhere. And the
got kicked out again. 2 times.
Yeah. And then I was banned from that bar. And I used to go there in a gorilla suit. That was the only way I would go to that bar. We had a gorilla suit like in our apartment, and I used to put it on and go out to the bars. And I would always go there in the gorilla suit. My friends would be like, "Hey, we're going to the Red Lion tonight." And I'm like, "I can't go. I'm banned." And so I would put on the gorilla suit and go, and they would let me in.
Oh man, that's it's not like Vegas at all. I had a buddy that I went to Vegas with, and he was very crude jokes he would make to the dealers. Anyway, he made some crude joke to one of the dealers, and they kicked us out. "You can't come back here." Anyway, 7 years later, he goes in there, and they got the facial recognition technology and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, no, you're not allowed. You got to go. It was like 7 years later.
Wow.
Wild.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time in casinos, and I'm always afraid of that. I'm on like best behavior because I work for them, and I do shows at the casinos. And I'm just like terrified that if anything goes wrong, that they're watching me at all times.
Oh yeah, it's in their best interest to see every single little thing and know. I mean, it's incredible that the detail that they have in there.
There is. I take a shortcut sometimes when I work at the MGM, and I go like through this, like out this like back door, and through a little parking lot, and then through this other door, and to get to the showroom that I perform in. And recently they've been locking the door, but there's nothing over top of the door. So I climb up and like do a muscle up over the door and climb over it. And everybody thinks it's funny. All the other comics, when I show them, I go, "Yeah, it was locked. I had to come in." They're like, "How do you get over it?" I'm like, "I'll show you." And they're like, "How old are you?" Like climbing over. And I'm always afraid that they're going to be like, "All right, we've got footage of you climbing over doors." And
Totally.
Yeah. But it cuts off like, I'm always like last minute guy, as you just saw. And it cuts off like 10 minutes of my walk to the show. So I'm like,
worth the risk.
Yeah, I'm climbing that wall.
Yeah. As long as you're not taking any money, I think they're okay.
Yeah, I think that's what they're really scared of. I'm amazed we're allowed to gamble in there because it's just weird and awkward. But I think they want their money back.
Yeah,
I think they're like, here's your pay. Now, please go give it back to us.
Yeah, it's incredible. I don't know if this is true. This might be just one of those urban legends, but after September 11th and the government was like, "We need better security," that they went to the casinos, Vegas casinos, and Disneyland and talked to them about their security and how they monitor. And because especially Disneyland, I don't know if you know this, but Disneyland has this whole underground, like comprehensive, insane security system there that I guess is like the government's like, "You got to teach us what you do and help us because we need some help with this." Pretty wild.
I think they put that together because my dad, when I was 7 years old, myself, my family, there's 5 kids, and my cousins, there's 5 kids to 10 kids, 2 sets of parents. We all went to Disney World. My dad and my uncle would go through, get stamped, because that's all it was back then. This is like, we're talking like early 80s or late 70s. They'd go get stamped. They would come out, lick their hand, and then stamp like 10 kids. And we would go in and they'd pay for 2 tickets. And 14 of us would go. I forget how many, like total. Yeah. But yeah. And I remember it because my dad's a very super moral, super ethical guy. And whenever he brings up like that, you got to do the right thing. I'm like, yeah, like you did at Disney World.
Yeah.
Huh? Remember that? Remember that when you stole from Disney, the happiest place on earth?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I got a million. I mean, I'm the son of immigrants. I got poor Sicilian immigrants. And let me tell you, they very moral people, great integrity, but they are not going to pay a cent over what they need to pay when it comes to certain things. So I'd go to the grocery store with my grandfather and he'd bring a pair of like scissors with him. I'm like, what are you doing? Okay, this is weird, whatever. And we'd get, vegetables and he'd pick up the vegetable and he'd cut off the stem. And I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, they're going to weigh the vegetable. I'm not going to pay for the stem. So he'd sit there and he'd cut the parts off that he wasn't going to pay for.
Smart guy.
Hilarious. I'm like, how much you going to save? Oh, every cent cat matters. Good stuff.
That's a smart guy though. There's been times I've thought about that. Like when I get my broccoli, I hate the stem of the I just want the florets or whatever they're called. And I'm like, why do I have this giant stem? Who eats this? This looks like a dog bone. Like who really eats that giant stem of the broccoli?
Yeah. Break off the florets, pay for those. Save some money.
Yeah. Because seriously, they weigh 90% of the weight's in that giant tree that they give you.
And you know what? It's brilliant. You're right. I didn't even think of it. I just remembered my grandfather doing it, but you know what? You're right.
Yeah. I'm breaking that. I'm bringing scissors. I'm bringing a saw from now on. I'm going to cut that.
Take the peeling of the banana off. Just take the banana part.
So is Mind Pump located in San Jose? Why did I think you guys were San Diego?
I'm not sure. No, but it's where the company started. This is where my partners and I started the business. We've all been, built our businesses around here originally, and then started Mind Pump about 7 years ago. So Silicon Valley, I guess, based. Yeah. That's pretty much it. It's not like a podcast hub or anything like that. Definitely a lot of innovation and stuff around here in the tech space, but we're in the fitness space. So
it seems like though that everybody that's been successful in the fitness space financially has been out of Silicon Valley. Jason Khalipa did really well out of there, and
good friend of mine.
Yeah, it just seemed like there's more opportunity there than. I mean, San Diego is a fitness mecca, but for some reason, I feel like when it comes to getting involved, like what Khalipa did, getting involved corporate wise, and just there's.
Well, I have a theory. I have a theory behind that. If you look at, so obviously the gym industry or the fitness industry didn't start in San Jose. I mean, you could probably say LA is more responsible for that, or even if you go back in the day, maybe certain places on the East Coast. But what you had out of the San Jose kind of Bay Area was the birth of the big box gym business model that's when gyms really figured out how to profit and make a lot of money. So before that, right, gyms weren't very profitable. You had, meatheads and fitness fanatics owned gyms, and they didn't really do very well. It wasn't really a way to make a lot of money. It was male, mostly men would sign up, and you wouldn't get a lot of women signing up. And then you had kind of the fitness explosion of the 80s, and you had companies like 24 Hour at the time, Nautilus, then they changed to 24 Hour Fitness, really, and Ray Wilson's Family Fitness was another one. They were based out of Southern California. They merged and became 24 Hour Fitness, and their approach and model is they kind of wrote the book on how to be successful in the gym industry. And one of the things that they did that was so revolutionary was this electronic funds transfer that they do. Now it's not a big deal, right? You go sign up for a gym, they take it out of your bank account every single month. Well, they pioneered that. I want to say in the mid 80s, they were some of the first companies to do that. And these companies, 24 Hour Fitness in particular, Mark Mastroff was the founder, and he's widely considered, I guess, the godfather of the modern gym industry. 24 Hour Fitness was the first $1 billion gym company, and he taught and valued marketing and sales and production, and he really turned it into a business. Was very good with how he trained and developed his people. His people then became great. And when I got there, I think I started in 97, so I'm 18 years old. This is when 24 Hour Fitness they had just merged with Ray Wilson's Family Fitness. So they had maybe 170 locations, which was massive at the time. And they were just exploding. And the top grossing clubs were in the Bay Area, Sunnyvale and San Jose and Mountain View. And these clubs were just crushed. You know, these are dues based. You're talking the late 90s. These clubs would have a dues base, right? So this is the monthly dues that they would collect, around $200,000 in a month. Right? That's not even including the sales on top of that, the membership fees and the personal training, all that stuff. And so I was a part of that explosion of talent and just innovation in that space. I mean, I remember when I first started, the fitness side of the gym. So you had personal trainers, you had the sales guys and the manager, and then the general managers. The training side was responsible for very little. Like the first club that I worked in as a trainer was on Hillsdale here in San Jose. I still remember Club 504. And now when I got in, right out the gates, I did very well. But I remember the club's total goal for the month. This was one of the flagship clubs. Their total personal training goal was like $13,000. Now I myself was starting to sell by myself, selling that much. And eventually the club started to do better and better. And we innovated and learned how to really incorporate that into the sales of the gym and the value of personal training, what that provided. Anyway, these clubs started just producing tremendous. And you see lots of other gyms kind of follow that model. Now, what happened in the kind of like maybe early 2000s, maybe after 2002, 2003, you had these investors move in, and their experience was, Home Depot, Circuit City, which no longer exists. And they came in and they looked at the gym business and they saw the numbers and they thought, oh, we can cut costs and we have more clubs than anybody. We don't need salespeople, trainers, not a big deal. We don't need to worry too much about trainers. We'll just sell the cheapest membership and we'll succeed. And this was the beginning of the end of the big box, I guess, heyday. This is then it became kind of a race to the bottom, and it's still profitable to do so. But I left that business because it just didn't jive with me. I'm a fitness guy, and I saw the model and I said, oh, okay, the goal is to sell a bunch of people a membership that's cheap, so cheap that they won't quit, but they won't ever show up. And this is now the model that you see in these big box gyms where they're, $10 a month. And, if everybody showed up, they'd have to shut the doors because nobody would be able to fit in the gym. But that's not the point. The point is get them to pay, not show up. And
it's so weird too with like the Anytime Fitness or the 24, the ones where you just use a fob to get through the door. Yep. And there's no one there. And it's really strange. I use them a lot when I'm on the road. If I don't want to go to a CrossFit gym and I just want to do, just lift weights or something. And I'll go to one of them and I usually call them and they're like, hey, sign up for a free pass for a week pass. And I'm in town for like 3 days. And I'm like, I always go in, I go, listen, I'm not going to join. Like, don't make me go through the rigmarole. Here, how much do you want me to pay?
Yeah.
And they're always like, well, a drop-in fee is $25. But if you join for the year, it's $50. So I just said the other day, I think I'm going to join a few of these so that I just don't have to make that. Like, I just have a fob and I just walk through the door when I get there because I can't do that. Like I said earlier, this podcast today is brought to you by 8 Sleep, because good sleep is the ultimate game changer. More than 30% of Americans struggle with sleep and temperature. It's one of the main causes of poor sleep. I know. It happened to me the other night. I was staying in a hotel, went to bed. It was nice and warm in the hotel room, which I like. But then about halfway through the night, I woke up because I was hot, because it doesn't cool down. The room's still hot. I got to change the thermostat. I go down. Next thing I know, wake up in the morning, I'm cold. It was screwing me up. That doesn't happen anymore when I'm home, because I am so lucky to have an 8 Sleep mattress and an 8 Sleep Pod Pro cover. I am their biggest fan in the world. I was talking to you earlier about how I've sold now, just sitting at dinner tonight, my brother and my 2 brother-in-laws were all like, I think I'm going to buy this mattress. And I go, it'll change your life. It's like the Tesla of beds. It's the most advanced solution on the market for thermoregulation. What it does is it pairs dynamic cooling and heating with biometric tracking. And you can add the cover to any mattress, but I recommend the mattress, you can start sleeping as cool as 55 degrees Fahrenheit or as hot as 110 degrees. But I recommend you buy both the mattress and the cooling pad, the mattress cover. What's great about it too, if you have a husband, wife, partner, whatever you have, the temperature of the cover will adjust to each side of the bed based on your sleep stages, your biometrics, the bedroom temperature, and it reacts intelligently to create the optimal sleeping environment. If you're not understanding what I'm talking about, just basically this bed figures out you and how you sleep and makes it work best. It's I don't want to say it's artificial intelligence. It's just crazy. My wife, we've been tracking our sleep on the app that they give you with it. I fall asleep. I'm pretty used to take me like half hour to fall asleep, and my sleep times are getting shorter and shorter. I mean, the time I get to sleep, I'm down to like, I don't know, 12 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. My wife falls asleep in like 1 minute because it'll track her side. It tracks my side. You have completely different results. It does this by checking your heart rate variability. I learned all about this because Justin Medeiros, who I had on the show, who's the 2021 fittest man in the world, he was using this, explained it to me, and I was like, I'm in. I need to do this. There's tons of top CrossFit athletes that are using it. Everybody wants better sleep, and 8 sleep is the way to do it. Like I said, you're going to fall asleep up to 32% faster. It reduces sleep interruptions by 40%, and you're just going to get overall more restful sleep. And here's the deal. We're going to save you $150 at checkout. $150. That's a lot. Go to 8sleep, EIGHTSLEEP.com/WODcast. Check out the Pod Pro cover. Save $150 at checkout. 8sleep.com/WODcast. Check them out. Pod Pro cover. You're going to save $150 at checkout. That's 8sleep.com/WODcast and sleep like you've never slept before.
Yeah, it's a strange model. It's frustrating for, because like we started the podcast. So my co-hosts and I all of us have about 2 decades or more experience in the fitness space. We all started as trainers, eventually management, owned gyms, and trained lots of people either directly or by proxy through other trainers or whatever. And, we had a deep passion for helping people. And if you have a deep passion for helping people and you work in the fitness industry, at some point, certain things start to become very clear. And one of the things that becomes very clear is that the fitness industry, the popular fitness industry, is part of the problem when it comes to the chronic health epidemic, or if you want to label it the obesity epidemic. Like we're part of the problem, right? We just talked about one, right? Gym memberships. These gyms that their model is you pay us and then don't show up, and that's how we succeed. Like that doesn't really help anybody. The way that they sell workouts, the way that the workouts are so inappropriate for most people, or the way that they market their products and supplements. I'd say probably a good 90% of the information you're going to get from the fitness industry at large is going to be terrible. And we started the podcast 7 years ago with the goal of beating them at their own game, which is that's hard. Like, how do I beat the message that this guy over here selling that says, take my supplement pill, my diet pill, and lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And here I am saying, it's going to take you about a year if you do everything right. And that's how you do it sustainable, right? How am I going to beat that? But that was our goal. Our goal was we got to counter this with good information. Let's try and make it entertaining. Let's communicate in effective ways that we saw that were effective for our clients. And let's see what we can do. And luckily it worked. And the podcast is now massive and it's been very successful. But it's a monster. The industry is a monster, and it doesn't, although it has the potential to solve many of our health issues, the popular media marketing fitness industry is just it's a big problem. And I mean, all you got to do is scroll through social media to see how big of an issue it is, and how much.
I back in the early, I guess it would have been the early '90s. I was a trainer at Equinox in New York City. Mm-hmm. And I was an actor, comedian at the time, and I just needed a job to pay me. and it was so flexible. I mean, I literally would put people on a treadmill to warm them up and leave and go to an audition and come back.
Oh, wow.
And I'd be like, hey, you know what? That's good for today.
Wow.
I'd be like, yeah, how long were you on here? An hour? Yeah. Because I'd be like running late. I'd come back and be like, all right, yeah, you know what? This is what we're going to do today. You did an hour run. That's good. And the guy'd be like,
Gee, thanks.
yeah,
Wow.
I was the worst. They tried to fire me like 50 times. I'd just be like, come on, just give me another chance. And I didn't like anything to do with the whole big box gym. And when I got into CrossFit, our whole concept with creating WODcast was just we had a podcast called Talking Shit that was a successful, like, just comedy podcast that I used to do with this guy named Jim Jeffries. And so
I love his comedy. I know who that is.
So we were doing it out of our house. We lived together, and I just had all the equipment and everything, and I did CrossFit every day. So I was like, hey, let's make fun of CrossFit. And I knew this other comedian who owns a gym named Kenny Kane. And I was like, Kenny, come over to my house and let's just kind of shit on CrossFit. And this guy, Armin Amirian and Armin Hammer, and we would do it. And, you know, that's back in the days when CrossFit was like, you know, the what would I call it? The Death Star. And they found out about us very quickly. And we were persona non gratis everywhere. They were really mad at us. I mean, Kenny would get, because Kenny was running a gym and then went on to own CrossFit LA and Oak Park Fitness. And like the powers that be were really, really mad. I had friends that worked at headquarters and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, what? Yeah. We're having some fun. And they just did not like it. And they tried to shut me down once, and they were able to kind of do it with the other guys. But when it came to me, I was like, I don't need you guys. I'm not in the fitness business. I'm a comedian. So there's nothing you can do to me. And so as soon as I let them know that, and I was like, look, at the time I was doing like Chelsea Lately and the Rogan show and all these things. I was like, do you want to make me angry? Like, do you want to... Because I'm being nice about you when I go on those shows and they say, hey, do you CrossFit? And I say, yeah. And then I talk about it. I just kind of joke about it on the podcast. And I said, but you know, it's kind of like roasting. We only roast those that we love. So you really want to piss me off? And they kind of left me alone after that. And I think,
wow, dude, that is an incredible story. So I don't know if you know our how we started, but that's a similar story. So we did one of our first episodes was why Mind Pump doesn't CrossFit. Now, you got to consider that we started in the space before CrossFit became a thing. Then it exploded, became this huge thing. We've talked many times about the contributions it's made to the fitness space. For example, you know, when I used to run gyms, 40,000 square foot clubs, the squat rack would have dust on it, right? CrossFit comes along, all of a sudden people start squatting again. Great exercise, one of the best exercises known to man. And they got women to lift weights better than bodybuilders ever did and all that stuff. But we did a whole podcast about some of the stuff that we had issues with the workout programs. This is, of course, 7 years ago when you'd see videos of, you know, these fails and people hurting themselves and all that stuff. Anyway, we got a letter, or an email, I should say, from CrossFit headquarters, basically cease and desist type of deal.
That's hilarious.
And what we did is we did a second episode, why Mind Pump doesn't CrossFit part 2. So we just kept going.
Yeah.
And then they kind of left us alone. But very interesting story, very similar. Yeah, no, we
got those letters too.
Oh yeah. I thought it was great. I'm like, really? I mean, at this time we had like, 1,000 downloads. Like, we were so small. I'm like, wow. Actually, we were excited. I got the email and I remember showing the guys and we're high-fiving. Oh, somebody noticed us. This is phenomenal. But it was great.
Well, we started, I don't know, I think we're almost 10 years old. And we went to, maybe it was the first year or the second year, we went to the CrossFit Games. And it might have been the first year it was at the Staples Center or whatever they called it back then, or not Staples Center, whatever it was down in Carson. And we go in and there was a company called Sick Fit that was doing a lot of filming on their own, and they had a box They had rented a box for the games, and they invited us in, and we were doing interviews out of the box. And we're sitting there, and these guys literally in black suits come walking in, and they go,
No.
is Arm & Hammer in here? And he's in the middle of an interview, and we're with the guy that owns Again Faster, and we're interviewing him, John Gilson. And John looks at us like, what's going on? And they point at Armin. He's like, I'm Armin. And they go, come with us. And so Armin walks out, and Kenny and I are kind of giggling. Like, where is he going? Like, who are these thugs that just walked in the room and called him out? So we're sitting there, and John goes, I don't know if I should be talking to you guys. And we're like, what? And so he makes a phone call, and then he looks back at us and he goes, okay, apparently you guys are okay. And then the lawyer for CrossFit walks back in the room, and he goes, you two are okay. Arm & Hammer's been removed from the stadium, and he is persona non grata. He cannot come back in the stadium, blah, blah, blah. And we just laughed about it and just made fun of it for the rest of the episode. And we were like, you just gave us so much material for like the next year.
Yeah, that's great.
Cut to the next thing you know, Armin's interviewing Greg Glassman, and they're like best buddies.
Yeah.
But it was just really funny that in the early days, they really couldn't take any criticism at all.
No, super litigious. So one of the things that I said on one of our podcasts was that there was a specific part of the programming. It was like Olympic lifts to fatigue in a circuit, right? So I'm like, okay, Olympic lifts, highly technical. Form breaks down. It goes from safe to dangerous very quickly. It's a dangerous way to apply Olympic lifts, and I made the case for it, whatever. Anyway, they sent me like a study, and they said, according to this study with injuries, CrossFit is safer than gardening. Okay, so I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. So we made memes. This was early days, so nobody even knew who we were. We made memes of people like, using a chainsaw while they're riding their lawnmower, cutting trees down. I'm like, this is the kind of gardening I think they're referring to. Yeah. Where they're saying it's safer than gardening. And we made this, it was this whole thing, and people thought it was so hilarious. But yeah, they were ready to go after people, kind of talking crap. But
I saw Glassman speak once at Pepperdine. This is just a few years ago, like 2018, I think. And somebody said, what do you see the future of CrossFit? And he said, lawyers, and more lawyers. And that was just, when it boils down to it, all CrossFit is really a name.
Yeah.
And so it's not a, brick and mortar. It's not, these are affiliates. It's all basically everybody buying the name. And so what they have to do is defend their name.
Yep.
And that's what they have. They have this name, this brand that they have to defend at all times. So I get it. I still am going to make fun of them. I mean, I don't as much anymore. It's kind of not fun anymore when they don't care.
Yeah.
But I mean, back in the day, and we weren't bad, because at the time we all loved doing CrossFit, but it was fun to poke. Like, I knew right away when I went to my first CrossFit class, and they were like, hey, you coming out for drinks with us afterwards? I was like, no. And I was like, this is a cult. Like, these people are weird. Like, I am not hanging out with you after the gym. Like, you're not my friends. And I had a few friends there, and the owners of the gym were my friends and stuff like that. But I was like, I'm not. And, and I saw how there was kind of this mentality of, you do what we do, and this is what we do. These are the shoes we wear. These are the drinks we drink. This is the food we eat. These are the places we go. This is the way we sleep. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, when are we getting in the spaceship? Like, how long till this happens? So I like to just kind of just give a little dig here and there. But there were some trolls online back in the day. There was this guy named Ben Smith's dad, and then this other guy named that were on Twitter, I believe, and this other guy named Drywall, and they tortured them, and it was hilarious. And these guys would get so angry, and some of the guys they tortured, I'm friends with now, and I'll still say to them, this was like, I'm sorry, it was fun to watch. And I honestly don't appreciate trolls. They come after me a lot, and I don't like it. So I shouldn't have had so much enjoyment out of this. But to watch how fired up they would get, the one guy they went. I think they contacted his employer, and that shut him down.
Wow.
Yeah, and then another guy, like they doxed these guys, if that's the word. They figured out who they were, found them through legal channels or through internet connections. People, when you have a big kind of world like that, a community as they call it, it's easy to get people to work for you and be your minions. And you've got people in tech and you can find out anything.
Yeah. No, CrossFit's strength was also its weakness, right? Its strength was that it could spread very quickly. You could, pay a nominal fee, use the name. And they had some, interesting ways of building community, which other gyms just did terrible at. And so they just exploded. But then the weakness was the quality control, right? Like this guy over here says he's CrossFit, and holy cow, they're posting videos of these terrible form or whatever, or this gym over here really overworks, and they throw up and they think it's fun and they post pictures of it, but then that gets ridiculed. Then the other thing I want to comment on is this, I'm sure, the fitness and health space is like, what they say, what's the old saying? Like, oh, you go to family dinner, don't talk about religion and politics, right?
Yeah.
You also can't, with fitness people, you can't talk about diets and like best workouts, right? Best workout program. Everybody gets really religious about it. So weird. Like you talk to a paleo person and you're a count your macros person, or you talk to a vegan and you're this, and or you like barbells and this guy's a kettlebell guy and that person over there is a bodybuilder, and it's so weird. It's such a strange tribal, place. I mean, you experience it by talking about how people wear the same shoes and whatever. Look, I tell you what, that's every segment of fitness is like that. I could tell you if somebody follows bodybuilders, power lifters, CrossFitters, kettlebell people by the shoes they wear, the bags that they carry, the supplement brands it's so funny. It's absolutely hilarious. What they don't, the sad part is they can learn from each other, and they don't. It's like they're in their own camps. It's really, really strange.
Oh, it's the same thing. I was realizing that the other day with vaccinations. That people have chosen their side of the vaccination based on kind of like it's a religion for them. And I think once Trump went away and there was no more fighting, look who's calling me right now. Can you see that?
I can't read that. Doesn't say. Oh wait, hold on. It's hard to see there. I don't know.
Let's pick up. Hunter. I never call you back. I'm a shitty friend. I can't hear you. What'd you say?
Said you're a shitty friend.
I'm on right now with Mind Pump.
Oh, dude, I love that guy. Is that Sal?
Yeah, it's Sal right now.
Sal's a legend. Tell him I say hi.
Hey, what's up, man?
So I'd rather talk to him than you.
That's okay. I mean, once again, reaffirming the fact that you're a shitty friend.
All right. Well, this is your shitty friend hanging up on you.
You got to have friends that'll say that to you. That's great. That's so awesome. Yeah, you were talking about the vaccines. What's crazy about this whole thing? Okay, first of all, I feel like everybody's being gaslighted all the time. It's a very strange time right now. Lots of gaslighting, lots of countering your own stuff and what you said. But what's weird, not weird, I guess it's effective politics. Who knows what the driver behind this is, but you can't all of a sudden, if you say, that particular vaccine, I want to wait a little bit, or let me read a bit, you are anti-vaccine.
Yeah.
Like all vaccines you're against, right?
Yeah.
Or you're for all vaccines. Like I love all vaccine.
Well, it was
that way.
It was the same way with, I was never a Trump fan, but how
do you like him now?
But if I saw him do something well, I would go, yeah, I agree with him on that. I think that's actually, and people on the left would be like, what? No, you can't. And I'm like, if he does something good, I'm going to say that he did something good. And it's been, I'm a man without a party because,
Because you think logically, probably?
Well, it's just you can't. It's so hard to be identified at this point because I don't think the parties even know what they are. And I think they're so scattered. And it's just this like, it's basically a team. I do jokes about it, about how they'll support whoever it is, their leader or their official, even if he's like Michael Vick or Ben Roethlisberger, whatever. They don't care if he killed dogs or raped women or whatever he did, that, he's their man, whoever it is on either side. And it's really gross, like how people subscribe to their party and affiliate with it. And it's like a team sport. I've never been very like nationalistic or patriotic or even like team sports. Like I have teams I like. I've just never been able to wear their clothes to the game, and put a uniform on myself. Because I just feel like I've done jokes on stage where a guy shows up at my comedy show wearing like Tom Brady's shirt. And I'm like, do you think Tom Brady's wearing your gas station attendant shirt, right now, like Bill from Texaco? No, he doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't give a shit about you. Why do you love him so much? And so I've just always felt that people that subscribe to things like that and like you say, like paleo, or like I like paleo. I think it's a very good idea, but like you said, I take from the carnivore diet, I take from veganism, I'll take from everything that I think is good, just like Republicans and Democrats. I'll take what's good from each of them. And I start to worry about us as a society, that nobody has a mind of their own and they just jump on a bandwagon and just start going with it. And
I'll vote for the people that leave me alone the most.
Me too.
That's what I vote for. And that's the big thing. Did you see the White House, the official White House, I guess, statement on the Omicron or whatever? Did you hear this? It's going viral right now. I got to read this. It's crazy. It's insane. And I'm going to replace it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read what they said, and then I'm going to change the words a little bit just to highlight how ridiculous what they're saying is. So here's what it says. This is the important part. We are intent on not letting Omicron disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we will get through this. Now, here's the crazy part. For the unvaccinated, these are the literal words from the White House website. You're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourself, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. This is from the White House. a winter of severe illness and death. Okay, so I'm going to replace this with something even more accurate. Okay? For the obese and those with chronic illnesses and the elderly, you're looking at a winter of severe death and illness for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. Just as accurate, if not more accurate, but they would never do that, would they? It's all about scaring the shit out of everybody.
Well, I tweeted the other day, I go, did the terrorists just give up? Because of, are they so afraid of COVID that the terrorists like, you know what, we're not going to bomb them for a while? Yeah. Because I haven't heard one peep about terrorism in 3 years. It's like the terrorists all retired.
Yeah.
And I used to say to them all the time, I was like, don't you think if the terrorists wanted to get us, there's so many ways. I live in Malibu, California, where our whole neighborhood lit on fire from like a spark off the ground. If the terrorists wanted to get us, like there were 800 homes. They shut down an entire, there's so many ways to like ruin economies and destroy people and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, isn't this just controlling of humans and religion's a way to control people, politics, everybody just wants to control people, and I just want to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah.
So I kind of just ignore everybody, and every day the more and more I see this shit, the more and more I see like, well, there's that place in the woods where I can build a cabin and just go and have everybody leave me alone, and I forage for my own food.
Dude, it's so wild. But here's what it is. If you make people scared and you're a politician, you can pass pretty much any legislation you want. You can spend whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. I mean, September 11th is the last thing I could compare it to. It wasn't even close though, because it's worldwide. But after September 11th, we invaded Iraq. They had nothing to do with the terrorists, but we invaded them anyway. We passed these bills that allow the government to like the Patriot Act and NDAA allows them to put you in jail forever without telling your friends or family, and no court just because they say you're a terrorist. And we passed those because everybody was scared. Well, right now, everybody is super scared, and they keep doing that. And what have they done? They've printed 90%. This is a real statistic. Every dollar that's ever been created in the history of America, 90% of them have been created in the last few years. Okay? So that's going to have an impact. By the way, if you look at these bills, these trillions of dollars of bills, a small percentage goes to people, and the rest of it is worded nicely, but it goes to their special interests, of course, and their friends. Then you look at like this whole vaccine thing, and they pass these mandates for companies or whatever. Okay, I get the rationale. I'm against that kind of stuff. I think if private companies want to require you, it's they own their company. They can tell you need to do this or you can't work here. No problem. I don't think the government should do it, but nonetheless, I get the rationale. However, if the rationale is about protecting people, wouldn't they consider natural immunity? But they don't.
They don't. No.
Natural immunity. So to me, it's like a bunch of weird gaslighting. And then, I'm in the fitness space, right? What did they shut down the longest? Gyms. Nobody can work out. Nobody can work out and stay healthy, stay at home and be sick as hell. But there was a study that was done that showed that gyms were not a vector of transmission, probably because the last place a person goes when they don't feel good is a gym.
Right.
So you're automatically not around sick people, unlike the grocery store or whatever. So just crazy.
Well, I saw they shut down CrossFit completely. And then they shut down all the other gyms, but then they opened up the big, the Globo gyms. And I started to look into it a little bit to see how this happened. And I read this article about the owner of Crunch got together with some of the other owners of the big gyms, and they created like a political action committee to lobby the politicians. So the politicians said, okay, we're gonna open Golds and 24 hours.
I know who did that.
But the CrossFits are going to stay closed. And I was like, wait a minute. CrossFits are smaller of a community, easier to track and trace, easier to test, easier to do. So to me, whenever I see like I'm all for doing the right thing and everything, but when I see it being really futile, what you're doing and not making sense, then I'm like, fuck you. So like an example is the whole idea, some of these comedy clubs I work at, you walk up to the comedy club without a mask on. You put a mask on to walk through the door. Then once you sit down, you take your mask off. I'm like, so did we prevent COVID right there at that doorway? Is that what we're doing? And it just doesn't make sense. And I've been doing a joke about it. I go, that's how I wear a condom. I put it on just to get through the door, then I take it off once I'm in. But
it's like wearing a condom to jerk off by yourself. Did you see the wrestling? So some of the colleges, obviously wrestling is a sport in college.
Don't tell me they made them wear masks to wrestle.
No, bro. Listen, it's worse. It's worse than that. You ready for this? They swear to God, this is wrestling. You can't shake hands before the match. Now remember, when the match starts, they're fucking wrestling, dude. But they said no shaking hands before the match. I am not making this up. I swear to God, this is true. You can look it up. It's insane. It's gaslighting. And then they're making 3-year-olds wear masks. I can't keep socks on my child, let alone a freaking mask. Yeah. They're going to touch it and blow everything. It's going to make it doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why people are losing their mind. I think that's the real
I think people are seeing, I was just looking and look, I try to read statistics all the time and try to add everything together because you can't find an unbiased article anywhere or factual information, or you don't know who's involved in it. So I try to kind of put it together myself, and people are going to bitch at me for this episode. They'll be like, why are you guys talking politics? But
hey, you started it, man. I love this shit. So I'll go.
So do I. I could talk.
We could talk biceps and triceps if you want.
I know. I don't want to. I could talk about this shit all day long. Okay. Everybody's talking about it. CBD. You hear it everywhere. You see it everywhere. There's a reason, because the stuff works. It's great. It's incredible. And I wanted to venture into the CBD world myself. So I did my research and I said, if I'm going to do this, I want the best product out there on the market. And what I found was the company called CBD MD. They are the leader in the CBD industry. They are committed to providing you with high quality CBD oils. They're going to help you reach your goals. I don't care if you're working out, you're just a soccer mom, you're looking for relief, you've got some pain you want taken care of. CBD MD is perfect for you. If you're a CrossFitter, just check with Annie Thor's daughter, Justin Medeiros. They're both sponsored by CBDMD, using it. They give relief to these guys. I talk to the athletes all the time about what they're using. And when I started hearing CBD was really good for inflammation, I wanted to look it up. CBDMD's got tinctures, topicals, bath bombs. They even have pet products. If you have, a lot of people have dogs with anxiety, try this out. If you have anxiety, try it out. You've got pain, try it out. My wife uses the lip balm and has said to me, there is no better lip balm on the market. And I was like, come on. She's like, I swear to God, it's amazing. Whatever they did it right. So we're going to make it easy for you to discover the potential of CBD for yourself. Go to CBDMD. They're offering our listeners 30% off of your purchase when you use the promo code WOD, W-O-D at checkout. That's W-O-D at checkout. Once again, that's CBDMD.com, promo code WOD for 30% off your order of superior CBD oil products from CBDMD. Again, CBDMD.com. Use WOD at checkout. But I was going to say, I was looking at statistics the other day, and I've been to India. I did a whole tour of India, and it's the filthiest place I've ever been in my life. Like, it was, no offense if you're from India and you're listening to this, but you know it. Your country's disgusting. It's like, yes, there's very nice parts. There's shitty parts of America too. I'm not going to say we don't have our shit, but like there are some really shitty, impoverished places of India where I saw like disgusting, like really gross shit. Okay. So their health standards, granted, they do have a good healthcare system. They have really smart people, blah, 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 but there's a caste system. What I'm saying, it's still a third world country. They have, I think, 3 times the population that we do. I think they're close to 1 billion people. And they had half as many deaths as us. And it's like, why is that? Is it because of our obesity? Is it because they let the virus run rampant and they got a herd immunity? What is it? I don't know. I don't have the answers. And this would start up a giant argument. But all I know is I was just looking at the statistics, and we have had, now some people go, oh, well, they don't report all their deaths, or, there's a lot in the countryside. United States does a more accurate job of reporting, and which I also don't believe. Because all I ever heard were flu statistics for years. All I heard were these flu statistics, flu this, you get the flu this many times. I've been sick once a year, about every year. I go to the doctors once a year, maybe. I've never been tested for the flu, ever. They have never said to me, you have the flu. They're like, oh, you have a cold. Yeah, you'll be better in 10 days. If you're not, come back and see us. They've never said you have the flu. When were they testing for I don't know anyone that gets tested. People are like, oh, they go, I had the flu. I go, do you know, or you think, oh, I think I did. Well, then where are these stats, these flu stats coming from?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to wonder about the COVID stats too, especially because like I tested myself this morning because I just got back from Alaska, and I felt like I was in like the depths of depravity. Like I was hanging out with people with ankle bracelets on, and I'm like, if I got COVID, I got it there for sure. And so I tested myself this morning because I was going to be around family, and sure enough, negative. Well, if I was positive, I just would have stayed home. I wouldn't have contacted the CDC and said I have COVID. So where are all these stats coming from?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I didn't even think of that. Here's the big thing I think that we need to consider, and I hope people start to think like this. So I'm going to bring it back to fitness for a second, but it's connected. So in the fitness space, we get lots of advice that never considers the context of human behavior. Okay, so what they'll say is, "Oh, you want to lose weight? Cut your calories. Here's your macros." Or oh, you know what? Go artificial sweeteners that cuts the calories out of your sugar. That should work. Now, the reason why that doesn't work is human behavior, right? We know in studies that when people eliminate sugar through artificial sweeteners, they end up eating more anyway. And so it just makes up the difference. And so if we don't consider human behavior, we think we have the answer. Okay, so how's this connected? You look at these mask mandates, right? when you compare the states with the strictest mask mandates to ones with the looser ones, what you tend to see is not really a big difference at all, if any, especially when you control for age of population and whatnot. Now, why is that? Is that because masks don't work? Not necessarily. Masks work a little bit. Studies will show that they work somewhat. Even though it's an airborne virus, it'll block some of it. And so you're probably going to reduce infections by wearing masks. But here's what people don't consider. What people don't consider is human behavior. In the states with less severe rules, when the cases go up, people just isolate themselves a little more and avoid more crowded places. And with the places with the strict policies, when the policies are lifted, everybody's like, the coast is clear, we can go crazy. I saw that in California. Remember when they briefly lifted the COVID restriction and everything was like super packed and insane? You're like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah.
We don't consider human behavior. I talked about kids earlier, making these first graders wear masks. Why are we doing that when first graders don't use them right? Adults don't even use them right. They're touching it's not going to make a difference. The only thing it's going to do is it's going to get kids' brains to not develop as well because they can't read facial expressions and read people's emotions, which is very important.
I hate to admit this. I have a mask in my truck that I think I've had from the beginning of COVID.
Dude, you're not the only one, dude. Nobody does masks properly. You know the proper protocol for masks?
I don't think I've ever washed this thing.
No.
I think I just pick it up. Like I'll drive somewhere. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta wear a mask in here, and I pull it out of my glove compartment and I put it on, and it goes back in there.
You're not okay. That's nobody uses a mask properly, and nobody considers that, right? Nobody considers the unintended consequences, like suicides, going up like crazy. California, suicides, overdoses, unemployment, all the poverty related deaths that we've caused through our policies. Nobody considers that. So humans act in way, obviously we act stupid sometimes, but we do act in ways that serves our best interest. And what you'll find is if you tell people COVID's going up, infections are going high. Oh, I know 3 people. You know what, honey? Let's not go out tonight. Let's stay home for a little while. Let's wait for this to kind of settle down a little bit, or that store over there, they don't look like they're keeping things very clean. We're not going to go there. People start to act that way and they take responsibility on themselves. And what the government's done, I think they've shot themselves in the foot, because now that they force so much shit, they're going to get blamed for everything. God forbid, this is probably not going to happen. So I'm not saying this is going to happen, but God forbid we find out in a few years that there's more negative side effects to some of these vaccines. Who's going to get blamed? The government for forcing people. They should have just let people make their own choices. It's insane to me how they're treating everything. And everybody's so scared all the time. Not saying you shouldn't be cautious, but I mean, this is how deep are we into this? Like, you have to kind of, otherwise you're going to kill yourself. You're going to live in a weird, fear, anxiety. Like, you have to just kind of,
I get the fear though, because we all know that healthy guy that got super sick from it.
Totally.
And he wasn't vaccinated, and you're like, oh shit, that could. But we also know that guy that was vaccinated that got super sick, and so both things just has you living in this like, there's no rhyme or reason to this thing.
You're right, but it's not going away.
No.
And so my point is, okay, here's my point. If we really knew the statistics of how dangerous it was to drive, a lot, or we were so scared, people would stop driving. So my point is, it's there, it's out there, it ain't going away. So what we have to do is start to accept that it's there and each take our own personal responsibility of how we want to deal with it, and then accept the consequences of our own actions, whatever that may be. Because I can't see any other forever strategy. What other are we going to do this forever? These lockdowns, masks, mandates, freaking people out forever. I swear to God, people will lose their mind. There's no way. So we have to at some point be like, all right, here's the deal. It's here. It's not going away. Like, we just got to deal with it. We just have to deal with it, live our lives. And if you want to use certain things to protect yourselves, that's totally up to you. By the way, this is my business. If you don't have a vaccine, you can fuck off. That's totally up to you. It's your private business. Or you could say, everybody's welcome. I could choose to shop there or not. It's up to me. And that's it. And let people live that way. Because the way that they're doing now, man, it is. There's going to be so many unintended consequences we haven't even seen yet. We're already starting to see some of them, like inflation and all that stuff.
Did you see Trump? Did you see Trump and O'Reilly last night?
I didn't. What happened?
They were at something and they were both talking about how they were boosted,
Oh yeah.
the double vax and boosted, and then they got booed by the crowd. And Trump's like, no. He's like, you stop. and then he goes, it's just a small group. It's just a small group over there.
That's hilarious.
And I think, like he was probably criticized for so long, for so much. He's like, I'm just tired of it. And he just, rather than play them, he went, no, look, that's a small group that just booed over there. Not everyone feels that way. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't know. I vacillate back and forth. I talk about it constantly. My wife never talks about it. She doesn't give a shit about it.
Oh, good.
She somehow avoids having the discussions with me. I mean, every once in a while she'll talk about something like what's going on with the kids' schools. But when I try to have these discussions that I'm having with you, she's like, I just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. And I want to be clear, by the way, I'm not even anti the COVID vaccine. My son's vaccinated. He goes to high school over here. But I am a person that has taken their own health as their own responsibility. I've never given the responsibility to a doctor or to the health system or to the government's recommendations. We all know if you follow the food recommendations of the government for the last 20 years, you're probably going to be dead. It's terrible advice.
That's something that I've told people. I go, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do know through my experience, nutrition, and I know it pretty well. And I know that what the government's recommending is wrong. And it's
terrible. Listen, you remember this. Remember when margarine was so much healthier than butter?
Yeah. I mean, they've made so many wrong decisions there.
Yes.
And
so I'm just, look, I take my own responsibility. I understand that. And I think we got to consider human behavior, consider the unintended consequences, because you might have an infection on your hand, but if you cut your hand off, you get rid of the infection, but at what cost, right? So just consider that stuff. And we're so far into it now, and it's endemic. It ain't going away. But I will say this: it seems like people are getting a little fatigued by it. So I think people are starting to get to the point where all right, that's enough.
That's why they had to have a new variant.
That's why the White House set death and illness on you and your family. I couldn't believe that.
Hey, look, I'm just hoping this new variant. I've read some things today that could be good. About it, that it's way more contagious, but it's way less. The mortality's way less, and hospitalizations, and it could be the cure for this thing, that everybody gets it and it's not bad. It's just like a cold, and boom, we all get natural immunity and we're all over it, and let's move on. And I talked to a I can't remember, a virologist, I think is the title, and he said that's the progression of viruses as they become more transmissible, as they're looking for a host.
Yeah, less deadly, so it becomes endemic. I know that there was one of the common cold viruses. I can't remember if it's a rhinovirus. I think it's a rhinovirus that we have now that's common. I think a couple hundred years ago caused a pandemic in Russia, but then it mutated to become kind of this.
Well, that Spanish flu still exists right now. It is. A couple of the strains of influenza are Spanish flu. And I say that, and I'm going to get somebody I know in the comments going, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And that's also the problem with idiots like me having a place like this where I go and spout off shit that I don't know about when I'm a stand-up comedian and I tell dick jokes for a living.
Hey, listen, we started talking about this stuff. I'm a fitness expert. So if you want the stuff I'm an expert on, we'll talk about fitness. This is my opinion on the other stuff. I'm not an expert on.
I know dick jokes. I'm an expert on dick jokes, shit jokes. I know a lot of shit jokes too. That's all I know. So I didn't know you guys were in San Jose. That's good to know. Sunnyvale. I come to Rooster T. Feathers all the time.
Oh yeah, good deal.
Right next to the tire store. It's one of my favorite little clubs in the world. I love that club.
That's awesome.
They closed down because of the pandemic, and they haven't reopened yet.
Really?
They're going to, though. I think January beginning. Well,
that space. I think besides the gym space, the comedy space got really hammered. Right?
Hammered. I've seen so many clubs close, and I've got shows tomorrow night. Wednesday night, then I'm off for Christmas Eve, Christmas, then the night after Christmas, and I'm I'm like, how many people are going to be at my shows?
You know what? I want to ask you, because this is your profession. I've been meaning to ask somebody who knows the answer to this. I love comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I watch it all the time. Huge fan. And for a second there, it looked like comedians were getting, attacked by the PC crowd or whatever, and they were afraid to. But it seems like the
pendulum swung back.
Oh my God! Like they are going hard, and I love it. I love it. And Chappelle went on on Netflix and just went insane, and they went after him, and he said, "Go fuck yourself."
Well, it took someone like Chappelle, like when the Me Too thing started, and that's where they went after Louis C.K. They went after a bunch of other people, and there were guys that weren't guilty, and there were guys that were, and there were guys that, like Matt Damon said, it's a spectrum. Like you can't go after Louis C.K. the same way you do Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. And people criticize Matt Damon for that. But during the Me Too thing, as soon as it started happening, like Louis was kind of the first big one, I was like, well, what do I do? And I always kind of look to my heroes. There's a bunch of comics that I look up to. Chris Rock, not Dave Chappelle. I do love Dave, but Chris Rock, Doug Stanhope. There's a number of them that I was like, well, let me see what they're saying. And then, because I know I have my opinion, but I want to see, like, if they're voicing their opinion. And they all, like, everybody went under wraps for a while. And they were radio silent. And I went, whoa. Like, even these guys who usually comment on everything are quiet. Like, Bill Burr was quiet for a while. I was like, oh, shit, maybe I should shut the fuck up. And I was like, this is scary. And then I thought, well, I got nothing to lose. Like, I'm not at these guys' level. They've got shit to lose. So I have nothing to lose. And my managers, every time, like, Hollywood Reporter would call me and want to comment or something, and my manager would go, don't even respond. He's like, you don't understand this narrative. It's just got legs and it just goes. And I got in trouble. Something happened on Twitter. I got in a fight with Stormy Daniels, and I saw how the narrative got created. I was basically telling her she was doing comedy. She was coming and doing comedy clubs. And I said, hey, stay in your lane. Like, basically, like, do porn, don't do comedy. The comedy clubs are for comedians. And it got turned from comedian telling porn star to go do porn to white male telling a woman what she can and can't do. Right. And I was like, I told Jeremy Piven the same thing. Like, it has nothing, like, comedy's jazz. We go in these clubs and that's where we do our jazz. And if you're not trained, go learn your skills and then come to our club. You're not going to go into a jazz club and play with them. Why are you coming into the comedy club?
Well, what you guys do, what you people do is so, you already know this. I don't need to tell you this, but I'm going to say this to your audience. What you guys do is so important. You are the last bastions of free speech. People don't realize that. And this has been true for thousands of years. Everybody knew this is an old saying. When the jester gets thrown in the dungeon, you know that the king is mad, right? You need people to be able to say whatever they want. You don't like them, don't listen to them. But comedians have the ability to do it because it's under the context of comedy. They can be crude, they can say whatever. But if that goes down, everything's screwed because there is no other area of free speech that should be as blatantly protected, in my opinion.
Well, so that's how I felt about the transgender issue, and it started with Caitlyn Jenner and everything. I said, you guys have the freedom in this country and a lot of other countries to transition and change gender and to get gender reassignment surgery and see yourself how you want to. And I'm all for that. Like, I completely support you in that. But I support you in the freedom to do any of that. But you should support my freedom to make fun of you for it.
Totally.
Because you're not immune from being made fun of just because you consider yourself an underdog or a marginalized person. There's no rules about who can and can't be made fun of because one person's victim is another person's bully. And it's all different, and the way there's so much nuance to it. But that whole kind of, there was for a while like this, we're untouchable. And I think Chappelle finally said, I'll take you on. And I used to do a joke about it. I said, I'd I'd make fun of the mafia before I'd make fun of transgenders. Like I'm more scared of transgenders than I am the mafia. And I think Chappelle showed that there was no hate in what he was doing. It was, comedy, and that, like he said, he had a friend that he loved that was a transgender that he cared about, and, it was sad that they committed suicide. And I think he took away what they were always trying to do, which is everybody says don't discriminate and don't generalize and don't, that we're all individuals. And Chappelle was saying, we're all individuals, like we all have our hurts and needs and wants. And so we can make fun of everyone and anything. And that's believing in equality. And so I really did like his special in that realm. I didn't find it particularly funny, and I love Dave and think he's hilarious, but I found it more of like a TED Talk, like it was a speech. And I watched it twice. The first time I was like, and the second time I was like, oh, this is brilliant. This is really brilliant. So I thank Dave for that. I thank Dave for standing up, taking the beatings, and paving the way forward for free speech.
Absolutely. Comedians are able, and throughout history, they've been able to say what people couldn't. And comedy is, I can't think of a better time in my life when comedy's more important. It's fucking tense, man. Everybody's stressed and anxious and scared.
Comedy's
and politics are all, come on, dude. You got to laugh. Like, if you don't laugh, you're going to lose your mind. And like, comedians are only good, they're at their best when they feel free to say whatever the hell they want. And you, as a consumer of comedy, you can decide to turn it off. Just turn it off. You don't like the guy? Girl, turn it off.
Right.
Don't be such a pussy.
And that's why I hate women. I got to get out of here in a minute because I wish I could do 3 hours with you. It's my family's Christmas. I had to, and I made this. You were so hard to fit in that I was like, I can't skip this. And so my whole family's down at some club somewhere. I got to go meet them. And I was like, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Mind Pump is, the mega monster that it is now. I always wondered why I was never invited on. You had my buddy Hunter on. I mean, do I have to be a world champion?
Yeah, kind of. No, you don't. Not at all. You know what? You're great though. I love this. Maybe we have.
And I think you let Brian Callen on.
We did. You know what?
Don't ever do that again.
He's a good guy. He roasted us too. I don't know if you saw the video he made with he was roasting us, and we made this whole edited video, and it was just, he hit us so good. It was so great.
I have videos of Brian working out in his underwear. Brian and I have been friends for 25 years, and by
the way, super intelligent guy.
Yeah, so he tries to pretend like he's as dumb as
he does a good job. He fooled me.
He is smart. He's a smart guy and very opinionated. I
love it. No, this is the best non-fitness. I rarely ever get interviewed, and actually, I don't think I've ever been interviewed and not asked about fitness and nutrition. So this has been a good time, man. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, sometimes I get tired of the fitness. I always tell people, I go, the show's either going to be informative or it's going to be entertaining. And I think we went the entertaining route today. So, I think it's better to just bring out your personality. And you did a great job. And people, I'm sure they know the show, Mind Pump Radio. And where do they find that?
Anywhere. So Apple, Spotify. So it's Mind Pump. And then if you want to find me, you can find me at Mind Pump Sal on Instagram. And then the book I was just gonna mention the book. Oh, thank you. The Resistance Training Revolution. You can find that anywhere.
Okay, Resistance Training Revolution. And I can't thank you enough for doing the show. I'd love to have you on again when I can give more time and we can shoot the shit forever. But family Christmas.
No problem. And if there's pissed off people over the topics that we talked about, you could it's obviously your fault. It's not mine.
You know what? If I did offend anyone, I just want you to know, I don't give a fuck. Good. Keep being offended. You're allowed to be offended. And if you are offended, go watch my friend Steve Hughes. Has one of the greatest jokes ever. Look it up. It's got like 20 million views on YouTube or something crazy. Just look up Steve Hughes offended, and he talks about like people that get offended at comedy.
Oh, I'm gonna check that out.
It's great. So good. It's one of the best jokes of all time.
Oh, awesome.
So check that out and check out Mind Pump. And you guys know what to do. Rate, review, comment, join the Patreon, do whatever you do. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, man.